Welcome to the Kent Lapp podcast.
What are you feeding them? Nutrition. What do you?
So right now I think
You know a lot about that. I know that. Yeah.
So Brooke is the only one following really a nutrition protocol with a coach because I'm doing that for her. The rest of the guys, like we've talked about over the years, and that's one of the things nutrition wise, you don't really need a coach for unless you have a specific goal in mind. And I think a lot of them have known what they've been doing so long. Like I think you would say that with your guys, they know where their body should be in tune to. I think once the games get close, we're going to really dial it in. Over the course of the last 3 months, even with Brooke, we're going to be a little more lax at the beginning of the year. And now we're starting to dial things in a little bit more because once volume goes up in training, recovery needs to go up. And recovery means you're eating better food, you're eating more food, and then obviously the physical recovery as well. So we're really working on getting her to eat more, which in a lot of people's mind is counterintuitive because you want to stay light for gymnastics, you want to do this. But so long in her career, she was under eating, which is crazy at that level because she was at levels where people that do a class should be eating 1 hour a day. She was at levels of that. And you're talking about somebody working out 5 hours a day. So in the last couple months, we've added a lot of food into her diet. Her body weight has stayed the same, which is exactly what we wanted. We monitor it daily. And she's just recovering better, which from a nutrition aspect, that's exactly what you want. You want to give people the most amount of fuel that we will call calories or food that their body can handle without gaining weight as far as body fat goes, right? So if we can give them 30 more percent maybe carbs, because that's all we really use in CrossFit as a fuel source, they're going to be able to burn that faster and use that glycogen uptake to where they can recover on the back end from that. So over the course of a week, you're thinking of a whole day's worth of food that she wasn't eating last week.
Wow,
once we made those changes, right? So if we can recover more in January, February, March, keep adding food, and while she's burning more, it's only going to help her when the games come.
Yes.
Yeah, it's more quality sessions there. Which
exactly.
Well, Dwight, what are your boys eating?
So, I mean, truthfully, like you said, we haven't really honed in and dialed that into the aspect. It's really quality is the biggest thing that we're focused on, and making sure that they eat enough. I will say a lot of these athletes in the past haven't focused on that. And like you said, they almost didn't think that they needed to eat that much more than everybody else. And it's actually more just telling them to eat more and more quality. As opposed to just eating whatever on the table and kind of as we go, and keeping them filled through training is more actually where we kind of start talking to things a little bit more so because they're actually pretty good in terms of eating the quality nutrition before and after training, but making sure that they hone it in and really hitting more carbs during workouts and making sure that they stay fueled and the protein because towards the end of the day, I mean, we've been at the gym 10 to 5,
10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah. And there's a training session at the end of the day. And if you see, Street's a good example of this where actually I think he naturally burns calories really fast for one, and I think can even eat more. But you'll see he crushes, endurance workouts, and randomly there will be an endurance workout at the end of the day that he kind of teeters out on. And so it's more just kind of hey, we need to make sure that in between sessions you're drinking 100 grams of carbs and 40 grams of protein, right? So that you're constantly fueled throughout, so that you're not so in such a deficit as we get later on in the day, that you have that quality training, because it's about each piece matters, kind of like what I was saying with what Tia is kind of really honed in on, and what these guys are honing in on as being professional athletes. And so if you have one of those sessions not quality because you're not eating enough, that carries over the next day. And it's how many quality sessions did we get in that week?
You're getting a little bit of a deficit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Are you guys training from 10 to 5 today?
We'll probably be
at 10, right?
Yeah.
So today, for example, Street or any of them, they got up what time, you think?
They're getting about 8. Yeah.
Okay, get up around 8, eating as much as they can.
No, because you don't want to go into it feeling
just a lot of carbs in the morning.
And pancakes.
Because if you eat too much fat, it's going to slow you down a little bit. So that's why.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
specifically on the guy's end, but Brooks, we work on and all professional CrossFitters should be working on a low-fat diet.
Yep.
As many carbs as they can eat, because that's all we use for fuel. Fat, like during the off season, we'll introduce fat more because of hormonal issues, especially for women, because it keeps you healthy and keeps you in the cycle that way.
Will be some examples of fat that you would not have right now and introduce later?
See, that's
Like butter?
No, it's like it's overall fat, like in terms of like a macro breakdown.
Yeah, so we let them pick whatever they want as long as it's whole natural foods. Like we're like, go for it. Like the type doesn't really matter. But you got to be careful when you're on the low fat, because like if you eat something like a whole avocado, you blow your whole day of fat. You know what I mean? So like we got to bring it back in a little bit. Where in the off season, eat it. That's fine. Like our fat's going to be higher. It's healthy for you. But unfortunately, when you're training for the games, it's not always the healthiest option, right? And that's like
to go high carb, low fat.
Yeah, just what they're doing to their bodies. And to be able to get that back recovery wise, the carbs need to go up. Yeah. So like it's a give and take. And I think like to your point, it's like a psychological thing that people went through for years in CrossFit. Like they wanted to look like the people on TV. Like you got six pack,
low carb, like
You see Rich rolling around with like a 8-pack all year long because he's built to be that way. Yeah. And like people are like, okay, if I want to be as good as him, I need to have an 8-pack all year long. And that's where so many people from like 2014 to like 2018, they're like, all right, I'm not going to eat carbs. I'm going to try to get as skinny and like ripped as I can so I can look good on camera, Instagram pictures, all that. And then they realize they're only hurting their recovery.
Like, and hormonally, they can be messed up for a long time.
Aesthetically, you don't need to look a certain way to perform at your very best. Like body fat is not, percentage-wise, is not really that big of an indicator when it comes to performance. And people get that wrong a lot.
But what are you guys doing? Because Alec and Street are pretty freaking jacked.
Well, that has nothing to do with us.
They are genetic freaks.
Is that what it is? But also they are eating a lot of carbs. I'm assuming if they're under you guys' programming, and they still look great.
So if your metabolism is at the 1%, which theirs is, you're gonna burn through.
Well, like Alex put on 10 pounds of muscle,
and that was
10 pounds.
Yeah,
in what time frame?
Since January, since we started.
Because he just wasn't. I think one aspect was he just wasn't training that hard.
He wasn't,
but he wasn't eating that much either. Yeah. So like with guys like Street and Alec, it's insane. Like if you give them 1,000 more calories a day, they're only gonna look better.
Yeah,
because they're genetically.
They're like, okay, cool. We're building more muscle now. They don't put on the fat.
I wish we could all be that way.
But what the extra 1,000 calories a day, is it more rice? Like it sounds like it's more carbs, right?
Carbs.
So
rice would be a great source.
As a guideline. Obviously, don't take this for anyone listening. You should be at your protein level all year long. It should be the same. Like your protein is going to stay the same. And then based on your performance needs, we're going to tinker with that fat and carbs. So if your volume of workouts go down, then your fat's going to go up. If your volume of workouts go up, your fat's going to go down, carbs are going to go up.
I see. That makes sense.
And that's why for like someone that's going to an everyday CrossFit class, it's like they would want, like the whole 40-30-30 thing is actually not a bad approach for people to kind of stick to. As you get higher up in the levels, it's like 50, 25-25, or like we kind of play with that. But like he said, it's like if your days go up, it's like we just keep pushing up the carbs. Protein stays the same and fat goes down to keep the calorie in line. And that's like a pretty general approach that, as a nutritionist.
For optimal performance, you don't have to, like I just said, you don't have to have a certain body type. Like all three of us even are going to be different at our optimal levels. We're going to look way different, right? Because how we were just made as a person. So we need to find that level to where, depending on how much we're working out, we need to eat at those levels that give us the ability to recover. So if I'm under eating, like I could even be gaining weight because my body is just starving and holding on to everything.
And cortisol levels are through the roof.
Exactly. Like stress comes into a big part of this because your body is just, if you are under eating constantly, kind of like we talked about with Brooke, you're not going to ever see any progress both in performance, but in body goals as well, like how you look, because your body's just shrunken, like it's holding on, because that's how we were, flight or fight, right? So like we were built as human beings to be able to survive. And we want to make sure they're thriving, not just surviving.
Yep.
So if we can give them that extra psychological push to where it's okay if you don't have a six pack right now, but look at your numbers on paper. You're getting better. And that's the goal. Like we talked about at the very beginning, if you're doing better this year than you were, who cares if you have one less ab?
Yep.
You know,
That's not the goal.
Right.
It's a very hard thing mentally because as a culture, that's all you see, like marketing wise. Like,
Is it really that hard of a thing for these athletes? Like if they're doing well, do they really care if they have that extra ab or not? Do they really?
Oh yeah,
Everybody wants to look good naked and think that they look their best.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
I
it's
get
like-
that. I mean,
yeah.
it's one of the great things about
mean,
CrossFit,
that's-
I guess.
for
but
sure.
That's the thing. Like the minute you get into a workout, people want to rip their shirts off. Like when even at everyday, you probably see it when it gets warm outside. Like they do.
Bro, hold on. Well, I take my shirt off every single workout, 365 days a year, but it's not because I look good. I want every little advantage I can.
But for a
So
lot
don't
of
be
dudes,
knocking guys taking shirts off.
Do you ever wait for the perfect time in a workout to take off the shirt?
or do you just walk
No.
in the door and rip it off?
No, I leave it on. I leave it on for the warm-ups and the strength portion, but before we get into the workout of the day, every time I'm just taking it off. I don't want to fool it.
Yeah, but there's those guys.
not 'cause
man,
I
that-
look good.
They only do that because they're abs. Like, and
Yeah, that's
I'm not,
probably a little
I don't want to
weird.
make a blanket statement for games athletes, but like, there's been a stigma for years to where I need to look that good because when I go to the games, all the media is on me. Right?
Okay,
and I'm
sure.
gonna like,
There's a lot of attention.
I could
on
see
that
that.
too,
The hard-
and Instagram. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Exactly. The hard thing for these athletes is the only marketing they're doing for themselves is social media. And like, I hate to say it, but like, that's what sells. Like on social media, like if there's a person with a six-pack ab and they have their shirt off, like somebody's going to follow that over somebody that's sitting in the corner training with their bowl of rice just eating. Like
what's that guy eating over there?
yeah, like no one's going to post their Tupperware tub of oatmeal that they're just sitting and eating with a sweatshirt on. Like that doesn't sell on the internet. And these athletes, which is tough for CrossFit, and we're getting there professionally, the money's just not there. So they need to find avenues to where I can market myself for sponsors on social media, and it's just a big cycle.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. I guess I'm sort of surprised to hear this aesthetic thing is this big of a deal in the
It's a
CrossFit
huge issue.
community,
And
at
just
high
being,
level.
being a nutrition coach for a few years now,
Yeah,
like,
you
and
probably
that's-
get a lot
Okay,
more.
you have
see it.
interacted with it more.
Yeah, and even for like you said, like members at your own gym, you see it every day. Like they can't buy into the fact where I'm going to eat more, but I'm going to lose weight. Like it doesn't compute for a lot of people.
Right. Yep.
Because even outside of CrossFit culture, like our world says, hey, just starve yourself and you'll get skinny.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, and I've run a bunch of nutrition programs through the gym at Sanitas, and I've taken nutrition certifications, and it's super funny. Like as an example, like what he was talking about people eating more and then losing weight. There's random times where you'll look at, especially women, I would say, like have a little bit more of like the eating more is like this detriment, and you'll see them come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm following my Fitness Pal of what it tells me to eat." It's incredible what the like recommendations are, and it's like you're supposed to be eating 1,380 calories a day, and your basal metabolic rate says 14, and you're like, well. That's like if you're in a coma. Like
Yeah.
you need to actually think about what you're doing in a day.
those are
It's
the
like-
nutritional needs of like a 12-year-old girl.
yeah,
Right.
it makes no sense. And
Wow, and
and so I've been like, oh, we need to actually like looking at it. You need to be eating closer to 1,900 to 2,100 a day, and they're like,
And
no
that
way,
scares
no way.
the crap out of
Literally,
them.
they're like,
Yeah.
no way, and I was like, give me 30 days, and that. Like as an example, there was one woman who lost 4% body fat from going from 1,300 calories a day
No kidding.
to 2,000.
Is that because of what she was eating, or is it because she was just able to work harder
it's
and that?
your hormones?
There's
So
some-
everything
yeah.
is regulated by metabolic hormones. So if you're not eating optimally, like what Nick was saying, your body's in a stress state. If you're constantly stressed, so it is
That makes
calories in,
sense.
calories go out, but you burn more calories when your hormones are optimally performing, and you
Yeah.
can't optimally perform if you're not eating the right amount of calories.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like stoking a fire a little bit.
It's literally just fuel.
Yeah.
That's, like it seems cliche every time
Yeah.
you hear it, like fuel your performance,
Yeah,
fuel
yeah.
blah blah. But that's all it is.
That's what it
like
is.
you can't drive a car without gas. You can't do a CrossFit workout without carbs.